Hi, I'm public speaking coach Milo Shapiro, and welcome to Business Advantage, the show where we focus on one business person per episode, someone who has the potential to give you the advantage. Do you ever feel like you should be more successful given how busy you are? You're not alone. My guest today has been coaching successful leaders for over 30 years, helping hundreds get closer to their business goals. She's the author of Busy is the New Lazy and has a lot to say on the topic. And given that this is International Coaching Week, I couldn't think of anyone I'd rather have on the program. So Margot Garcia, welcome to Business Advantage. And I'm so glad you can be with us to help us look at what on earth we're doing with our time.
Thank you, Milo. I'm so delighted to be here.
Terrific. Okay. Now, I know you've done some research and writing on this topic. Busy is the new lazy. What's it about?
Well, lazy is a very charged word.
I bet.
It implies idleness and lack of action, and there's real negativity there. You're putting things off, you're procrastinating, avoiding something. I submit that the opposite is actually true as well.
Okay.
That being super busy, overcommitted, overscheduled can also be a form of procrastination and avoidance. So my work on the topic started because I was looking for answers about how my life had gotten so out of whack. Just out of whack.
I can see how that would happen. So how can someone tell if busy is the new lazy might apply to them?
Well, I'll share with you 3 things that I used to say all the time, and let me know if these are things you ever said or maybe someone you know has ever said. The first one is, I am crazy busy. I have so much to do and there's never enough time to get things done. You ever said that?
Yeah, and busy should not equal crazy. That's not a good thing.
Right. The second thing is, I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, running hard, fast, but I'm not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the third one, and this is the sad one, is this all there is? I've worked so hard to get everything I thought I ever wanted or needed in my life. Why am I so unhappy? Milo, I complained and struggled with all 3 of those. I was always at work. I was never home. And when I was exhausted.
But you felt productive because of how busy you were.
Well, exactly. I was wearing busy as like a badge of honor, particularly at work, because look how successful I am. I loved my job. I was really good at it. I felt so needed, so important, so purposeful. And that's how I funded my lifestyle. You know, it was how I put the kids through private school and had nannies and Hawaiian vacations every year. I would actually have whole conversations with other really busy, accomplished people about how busy we were. And somehow the one who was most sleep deprived was the winner. It was insanity.
It sounds like you felt like your priorities were off kilter.
Totally. I would tell you that from my heart, my family was the most important thing to me. But if you looked at where I was actually spending my time, where I was paying attention, I was totally out of balance and out of integrity with myself, and I was miserable. So the research and the writing that I did on the topic really started out as a self-help project for myself, working on me.
Now, you mentioned the word balance a minute ago, and the phrase I always hear is work-life balance. But I got to tell you, I've heard people laugh at that saying it doesn't exist. What do you think?
Well, I need to make an important distinction here. Balance doesn't have to mean equal.
Oh, I like that. I mean, that sounds more doable if you don't feel like it has to be equal. That helps.
Yeah. In his book, High Performance Habits, Brendon Burchard says that it's really a question of quality, not quantity. And balance doesn't mean that you have to equally distribute the hours on your calendar among the different aspects of your life. He encourages us to look at, are we making progress? What's our happiness level in all the areas of our lives, sort of across, the spectrum of all the things we do? Because we feel out of balance when there's one area that takes over, that we become obsessed with, that it's more intense and time consuming. And when we focus on that one area, we're not paying attention to the other areas. And that's exactly the situation that I was in. I was always at work, and the other areas of my life, like my family and my self-care and other things were not getting any time, any attention. My clients also bring that same complaint to our conversations. I understand what they're going through because I went through it too. I was suffering too. The more I researched, the more I studied to find out how to sort of get through this myself, it became clear that I was using being busy as a way to not have to look at the changes I would have to make to get more balance in my life.
Sure. You don't have to face the fears if you feel like you're always accomplishing something. I really love that imbalance thing. If 80-20 feels good to you to have that 20%, you don't have to feel like, why am I not at 50%?
Yeah.
So let's go back to understanding this difference between busyness and actually the similarity between busyness and laziness, because it still feels like a third thing to me. So tell me more.
Well, I had to create a new definition for laziness or for lazy to sort of get my head wrapped around it. So here's the definition that I came up with. When someone has the ability to do something, they're capable, and they know that they ought to do something, but they're unwilling to do it and choose not to do it because of the extra effort involved. That's my definition of lazy.
That's an ouch, because I'm suddenly feeling really lazy and I hadn't until you said that. Wow. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm following you so I know what to do about it. Can you give us some examples of where busyness is laziness?
Absolutely. The first one is we use it as an excuse. It gets us out of having to honor the commitments to the people who are important in our lives.
I love that.
Yeah. It's the,
have to give that up?
For me, it was sorry, mommy can't go on your field trip, or I can't play with you right now. I can't go to your game because I'm busy. And if you're not a parent, maybe you have a boss or a partner that you've put off in the past by saying, oh, you're too busy. It's kind of like, and I'm a game player, so it's kind of like a get out of jail free card from the game of Monopoly. When you pull it out, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
They understand, they empathize with you because they do it too. It's like I said before, I was using being busy as a way to not have to look at the changes I would have to make in my life to find more balance. The second way that busy is laziness is it's about not being in control, not having a say in the matter or a choice in the matter. When there's no mindfulness or intentionality around what you're doing, and if you allow yourself to be managed by these external things all the time, external factors or other people's schedules, then you can easily throw your arms up and say, I'm not in control here. Everything else is controlling me. Now, I know that probably sounds crazy or impossible. And of course, if you're working for someone else, there are certain things you have to do at certain times because of that job, right?
Sure.
If you have kids or parents that you're taking care of, well, your time is not your own to schedule. You're at the whim, the demands of those people that you're caring for. If you're a business owner, well, the business really determines how you spend your time. But if you allow external forces to direct you all of the time, I would suggest that you might want to take a look at what it is that's underneath that. Is there something there that you're avoiding? And because you're staying so scheduled, so busy, so occupied. The third thing is it's about not prioritizing appropriately. Many of the people listening, hopefully, are familiar with Stephen Covey and the time management matrix that he introduced in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's an oldie but a goodie. in it, he looks at how we spend our time, whether it's on things that are urgent or important or not urgent or not important. So imagine with me a quadrant, 4 boxes. It's really easy to spend time in the first box, that urgent and important, because that's where our deadlines live, crisis, real emergencies. We have to pay attention to those things. And it's easy to spend time in the lower box, that not urgent, not important, because it's fun. That's where we escape. We binge watch TV. We spend hours getting lost on social media. It's easy to spend time there. It's less easy to focus or schedule time in that box for things that are not urgent, but important. That's where we do our planning and our problem prevention and the deep work on ourselves, on building healthy relationships. Covey refers to it as sharpening our saw. And since we don't naturally go there, it's really important to be intentional about putting time, blocking time in that box for yourself so that you can attend to the activities in those areas. So I hope with those 3 things, I've helped you see that business is about avoidance and procrastination, and laziness is about avoidance and procrastination. Ergo, busy is lazy.
I'm glad you used the word procrastination, because it was the word that kept coming up in my mind through some of what you were saying. And it's probably something a lot of us struggle with. Or is it just some of us? What should we know about procrastination? I have a feeling it's a word you hear from clients.
Well, and it's a word I struggled with too, sure. Procrastination is about deferring commitments, even though you know about the negative consequences. So I want to make a distinction here, because simply postponing a task for strategic reasons, or you've got a good constructive reason for it, isn't procrastination. Procrastination has to have a cost. So let's say you put off doing your taxes because you just hate doing the number crunching, or you hate having to pull all of those records together. Well, that's procrastination. You're just deferring the effort. If you put it off so long that you incur a fine, that's procrastination. The cost is either shame or guilt, or in my example, money. That's the cost. That's what differentiates it from just postponing or deferring something to really make it procrastination. And yes, everybody procrastinates.
Oh, good.
I'm sure you've heard of the term analysis paralysis.
Yes.
It's overthinking a situation or continually looking for the best possible solution, or it's perfectionism that renders you incapable of reaching a conclusion. All of that is procrastination.
And it feels right in the moment because you convinced yourself you were just trying to reach the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
But it really was postponing in the long run.
Absolutely.
With so much going on, I guess we get to feel validated by having done this, and it makes us feel like we're okay, even though we're not getting what we want. So why do we do that?
Well, I'll bring up another author that's a favorite of mine. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, refers to all of this as all motion, no action. When you have so many ideas running around in your head and you're occupied with gathering data or research, or you're planning what you're going to say, all of that preparation stuff we think is getting us somewhere, but it's really just the motion. It's not going to get us a result until we take some action. Action is required. So when we say we're busy, we can point to all the plates that we've got spinning, the balls that we're juggling. We can point to all the motion, but without action, it's just another form of laziness. Knowing what we need to do, what we should be doing, but avoiding it because of the extra effort required.
And you talk about okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, just.
Oh, you froze up for a second. There you go.
Research says that procrastination is on the rise. The fault lies with all the electronic devices we have right in front of our face, and all of those AI algorithms that put exactly what we want to see to get distracted right in front of us all the time. It's almost impossible not to get sucked in. And the crazy thing is, we know how addictive our phones or tablets, whatever, can be, and how easy it is to just say you're going to watch one episode or play one game, or
Just peek at email like
yeah,
that.
I'm just gonna check,
Just gonna
right?
check.
Um,
There's an hour.
but they're designed to keep us watching. They're designed to keep us playing. They're designed to keep us reading. And we allow ourselves to get distracted because we don't want to have to deal with what we know we should be doing, and what we promised ourselves we would be doing.
Yeah.
We procrastinate.
All right. So you talked about consequences from the procrastination, which means one of them is going to be that if there is actually a deadline, we're going to end up rushing. And I remember I had a college roommate who was forever saying, I work better under pressure. And his grades were good, so I couldn't completely argue, but I had no idea whether they would have been better if he didn't. So what do you think of the notion that some people do work better under pressure?
I always tried to convince myself that that was my way of doing
It's a great
things.
rationalization.
Yeah. But I hear it all the time. It's really just a lie we tell ourselves. No one works better under pressure. No one is in their zone of genius when they're stressed out or feeling pressure. People procrastinate because they don't want to have to deal with those negative emotions that come up when they have to actually deal with the things that they're putting off. It's a lie.
Wow. All right. So since procrastination causes all of this, how do you, as a coach, help people deal with it?
Well, there's 4 things that I encourage my clients to do, all of which are really easy to say and really, really hard to do.
That's why there's coaching.
Yeah. The first is get enough sleep. And this is hard because
we're so busy.
Well, yeah. Sleep is the key to our ability to be at our best and to stay focused, to be in control and to make good choices. When our energy is low, so's our willpower. And so it's easy to let ourselves be distracted and to procrastinate when we're tired. I'll tell you, this was my Achilles heel. With only 24 hours in a day, I would use as many as I could to get things done. And I would always, say that, I'll sleep later. There's plenty of time for that. But sleep isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And there's tons of research out there showing the connection between lack of sleep and accidents or illness, and lack of sleep and learning retention. I mean, there's just so much data out there.
It's like working drunk.
You've got to find a way to get sleep.
Anything else on that list?
Yeah, the second one is start small, but start.
I like that.
Yeah, for procrastinators like myself, the first step is often the hardest. We wait for this spark of motivation or something, inspiration, but it never comes. We never start. What I've learned from myself and from working with clients is that motivation actually comes once you are in motion, once you've begun. So the second recommendation, like I said, is just start small. And I'll give you a couple of examples. If you're doing some research and you've got to, read some stuff, but reading a book just seems daunting, well, read a page, but start reading. If you want to get in shape, but going to the gym is just like not something you want to do a sit-up. Tomorrow, do 2. Take a walk. Start small, but start doing something. Get in motion. For me today, the challenge is writing. I've committed to writing so much per day, and staring at a blank screen is just, terrifying sometimes. So I set a timer for like 5 minutes, and I'll start just typing. And most days I will actually keep writing after the timer goes off. So it's, there's ways you can find to kind of trick yourself.
I know.
Motivation comes once you've, gotten in motion. The third thing is, and this to me is so critical, is knowing what's most important to you. Do the work to define your core values, those things that are really most important to you. Write them down, use them as a touchstone so that you can make sure that you have alignment between what you say is important to you and what you're actually doing, what you're paying attention to, how you're spending your time. If you're as out of whack as I was, start small, but start making some changes to get back into balance, back in alignment, and you'll find you'll be much happier. And the fourth thing is ask for help. So something that a lot of successful, accomplished people don't think that it's okay to do.
Right.
They think it makes them look weak or something. And the opposite is true. I know that sometimes it feels like, or you may feel like you're the only one going through these struggles or juggling the things you are, but you're not. Everybody struggles, everybody juggles, and trust me, you're not alone. Reach out to someone to talk to. Get support, whether it's, by delegating or paying someone to help you, whatever you can do to lighten your load so that you can focus on those things that are really most important to you.
That's hard for a lot of people. I know as a speaking coach, sometimes I'll have clients who say, well, I don't want my coworkers or my staff to know I'm getting help. I'm like, so you weren't born a speaker. That's not how it is.
Yeah.
So that's important that people do ask for help in those kind of areas. Mm-hmm. This next question, if you're watching this way in the future, may sound dated, but right now it's really important to ask. How has the pandemic impacted the work you're doing with your clients?
I've tried to stay with the mindset that the pandemic has given us a gift, and the gift is time with our families, time with ourselves, time we wouldn't have otherwise had it not been for all this craziness that's going on in the world. And I know not everyone saw it as a gift or sees it as a gift, because last year, we faced panic and anxiety and even death in some cases, things that we don't normally deal with on a day-to-day basis. We were juggling working from home, schooling our kids from home, everyone being home all at the same time, nowhere to go, no place to escape. And yet somehow we made it work.
That's great. I mean, I don't know if I can think of it as a gift, but I can look for the gifts within it. And that helps be in a place of gratitude, which is going to be what it is anyway. We may as well look for those gifts.
Yeah.
Can you share an example of one of your clients or someone in your world who really made a difference in this, who made this changeover of handling, getting away from the busyness and making it work for them?
Yeah, I've got lots of stories, but I'll pick one. A guy I worked with, we'll call him John. John, in 2019, he was living and working in Washington, had a wife and 2 kids at home, a boat in the garage, lots of social activities, a network of friends, living the good life. He never imagined, never even thought it was possible that 1 year later in 2020, he would find himself in a 2-bedroom apartment in Dallas with divorced, a new job, a new team that he was getting to know, and feeling, very disoriented and isolated and, just alone. And then COVID hit.
So he was already ready for being alone.
He was he could have easily fallen into depression or gotten into a bad, a coping habit like drugs or alcohol or something. Fortunately, he didn't. He reached out for help. And through our conversations, he came to realize that all of the things that had happened to him and that were happening in the world had created a space for him to take on something that he never thought was possible. Back in Washington, he had wanted to write a book about the work he was doing, but because of especially because of his kids, when the birth of his second child happened, he said, there's no way that I'll ever write this book, and completely put it aside. But now he actually had the time, the space, the ability to focus on it. And if, knock on wood, things keep going the way they are, he's doing a book launch this summer. And he is so proud of himself. And it all came about because he reached out for help.
Otherwise, he might have let this time go and then look back on it from 24 and say, why didn't I use 2020?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people change how they do things and where they prioritize. I know as a speaking coach, I was hard pressed to get anyone to be willing to work online unless they were out of town or out of the country. Now, even though I'm starting to be willing to see people, I have more than half the clients going, do we need to meet in person? Have to drive?
It's our new normal. Yeah.
And it opened up doors for the people for whom it makes sense some of the time. So I feel like this year has given a lot of people the opportunity for new beginnings and rebuilding, changing their business models. What are some advice pieces you could give to us on how to use that as we look forward, if we want that in our lives?
So if you want to change and create a new normal for yourself, new habits, new ways of showing up in the world, you can read books, you can listen to webinars or ask for advice. But while those things can be very inspiring activities, they don't always lead to lasting change, behavioral change. For that, you need an accountability partner, someone to the things that you let stop you, the habits that no longer serve you, the limiting beliefs that you carry around, someone who will challenge you to think bigger and take bolder action, and to create an extraordinary life for yourself and your family. As a coach, that's what I do.
Wow. I should probably call someone like you, but I'm just so busy. Mark, I want to thank you for being with us. There was so many great thoughts in here, and I think it'll really shed some light to some people to see themselves in all of this.
It was my pleasure. Absolutely.
Great. If those of you watching, if you'd like to be a guest on Business Advantage or see other episodes, visit businessadvantage.xyz. And if you'd like to learn about improving your public speaking skills, visit my homepage, miloshapiro.com. Till next time, I am Milo Shapiro, wishing you good health, good times, and good business.
Thank you.